Next on Rugby Wrap-Up, a Major League Rugby mystery guest whose success has stunned the league. Plus, Bryan Ray, Dan Power, and Matt McCarthy with NLR gossip, opinion, and previews. Rugby Wrap-Up brought to you in part by The Pig and Whistle, the world's best rugby pub. The Murphy Kennedy Group, founded with the idea that construction can be done better. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up in this week's edition of our Major League Rugby show with Dan Power and Bryan Ray. Bryan, once again, we feel your pain, so we'll welcome you in. It looks like you got a little bit of the NOLA gold going there, and Rooney. And can you explain the backdrop?
Yeah, it's been a tough couple weeks for us Arrows fans. So we had NOLA last week. We didn't quite make the show, some technical difficulties, so I didn't want to shortchange them. So there they are, NOLA, and of course New York this past weekend, giving them their dues.
All right, Dan, how are you? I mean, you've been bouncing all over the place.
Hey. Good, mate.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, we're interrupting what we normally do with a recap because we have a special mystery guest who is going to stymie, flummox, and bamboozle the experts that are Dan Power and Bryan Ray. Well, the way the mystery guest segment works is that these two are going to ask you each one question, 4 rounds, and then they're going to retain what they think is the answer till they are asked. They can't guess in advance, okay? Because they get awfully cocky, these pundits. So we'll start with Bryan Ray, who's had a horrible season as a Toronto Arrows fan. Bryan, first question.
Are you a player of the current on a Major League Rugby roster?
Nah, mate.
If you were a breed of dog, what breed would you be?
Shih Tzu?
Any interest? I have a bulldog. Any interest in some crossbreeding?
That's a second, Dan. That would be a second question. So we're going to strike that.
I apologize, Matthew. Yeah,
strike that, Dan. Don't try. I'm on to you guys.
Have you played international rugby in the past 5 years?
Oh, no.
Are you better looking than Bryan Ray?
Oh, it's just a given.
Yeah.
So far, I'm guessing Southern Hemisphere guys with that accent.
Well, I was thinking George Clooney, Brad Pitt. I mean, Bryan Ray's the upper echelon.
Gerard Butler, maybe.
He's fat now too. Yeah, and you did say he was fat.
Gerard Butler played a little rugby.
Did you play rugby on the west coast of the United States?
Yeah.
Are you involved in Major League Rugby in some capacity now?
Yes.
Are you a player or a coach?
Coach.
Are you attached with the LA Giltinis?
Nah.
I think I know who it is. Did you get the expense report approved for picking up my bar tab the other week?
Nah.
I'm sorry. I'll Venmo you.
Is your team that you are affiliated with in the Eastern Conference?
Nah.
Pretty sure you an old teammate of mine?
Yes.
Oh.
Bryan, I'm going to give you a final shot here. He's slipping in. Dan might know who he is.
I don't want to steal Dan's thunder. He obviously knows who it is, and I won the last one, so I'm waving the white flag.
God damn it. Don't be so polite. All right, Dan, what do you got?
The best footwork of any front row player ever to wear the USA jersey. It's my man, Shawn Pittman.
There he is.
There he is. They're almost twinsies, buddy. Look at us. Look at
Great
us.
accent, baby. Great accent.
Old glasses, beard, and bald. You and me, buddy, till the end.
Oh, I know. I actually had hair at the beginning of the season. It's just fun somewhere. I don't know.
So, guys, we've got arguably Coach of the Year here with the Utah Warriors, and you're coming down here, Shawn, and you just keep winning. I always thought it was a ruse. Your early start didn't really lend a lot of confidence, and then boom, you win some big ones, and you can play 80 minutes of rugby.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been really good, and the start of the season was a bit rocky, but I mean it is what it is. I mean, every team's had a rocky point in their season, so that was ours early on. So I'm happy that's over, and we're on to a bit of a streak right now, and we'll just see what happens over the last 2 weeks.
Obviously Chris Latham was originally supposed to be in charge. Aside from when the public found out, when you personally found out, did you have any inkling that was going to happen and he was going to step away? And what was your immediate reaction?
Well, when he
yeah, woohoo! Yeah, I'm the coach. I think that was probably the
the first thing I thought about. I was just like, oh shoot, like we gotta actually do this now. Like being an assistant coach is like, being an assistant coach, you do your job, you get by, like you do your part of the game. And then with Chris leaving and, having to take over defense where, it hasn't been our strong suit this year. It's my first time kind of coaching it. So it's, it's been a fun learning experience through that process. But, in the transition, I found out on Tuesday and we announced it on Wednesday, that was kind of the situation that was happening. And, my first thing was, hey, let's get all of our ducks in a row. Like, let's get all of our roles and responsibilities right as a staff. And hopefully, we'll be in a good spot. And I'm very lucky to have the individuals that, with Shawn and Matt around me as well. Like, those guys are awesome. And, on the guidance of our leadership from the top. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing experience this year. And there's been a lot of support, especially on our on-field staff with each other. We've really bonded and we've come really close.
And you got a great fan base too. You got that great stadium. Yeah. It's got a lot of fans all the time. They know rugby.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we walk out of the locker room. It's great because, like, we went to Houston and we had, like, I want to say close to 50 people travel to that game. And there's people in this, we're in Houston and there's people at our hotel, like, yeah, Warriors walking around, it was amazing. It's been a really good experience, and it's been challenging, of course, but it's been a really good experience and I'm very thankful for it.
Once you find out your coach, what were some of the main things that you wanted to imprint on the Utah side? Like, what were some of the things that you wanted at the end of the year to look back on as like achievements that you could make personally for that side?
I think that the massive thing was just kind of accountability. And what we like, my big thing is just like, we're a small staff. So I wanted to create like this self-policing culture, which has been absolutely amazing. So like people, like, they self-police each other phenomenally. Like I don't get involved in stuff. It's awesome. Like there's no need to. The boys look after each other. And that's really nice. So that was like one of the things I wanted to be really honest with players. So like, and that's something I think our whole staff is like, we just said no fluff. Like, we're going to be really honest with you about where you sit within the team and where, as a player in the past, you're like, the coach is lying to me. Like, that's not what, like, yeah. So like, we've just been like, listen, buddy, like, you're not there yet. Like, you probably need like another, like, we have some really talented players. Like we have a prop named Elijah Hayes, and we chatted to him, and he knows where he sits this year, in his development and stuff like that. And there's other players that are like biting at the bit, like, they're the 24th, 25th guy and they know where they sit, and us being honest with them only gives them, more power to develop. And they're like, okay, well, I only need to work on these 3 things to improve and hopefully get a crack at the squad.
You've got some serious stuff on your hands because you've got the international tests and players being taken away from you. Who did you lose?
Well, we lost 6 altogether. So we lost, for the U.S. team, we lost 5, which was Calvin, Mika, Mikey, Paul, and Baska. And then for Canada, it was Fraser Hurst. And the cool thing with us is we don't care. Like, we're happy. Like, if Gary's going to select more, take more Gary. Like, same thing with Canada. If we, Hank, our other Canadian guy, if you want him, take him. Like, that's an experience that's invaluable to their development. We're not trying to hold them back from the person or the player that they're going to be. And we very much want them to have those experiences in life, because when they come back, especially with those guys that are going to play England and Ireland, and they come back to play LA, and then they're like, okay, well, we just played like England, who's number, in Ireland. Like, so it's like, it's going to be really good experiences for these guys to then share with the other guys that, are still working towards being a part of the U.S. team and the Canadian squad.
The Warriors are an interesting side in that you got kind of a group of guys who've been there since day one. But then you also, this year, notably, you got in Paul Mullen, you got Mikey Teo, Aston Fortain, and you add these guys, Ollie Khalifi coming in from Seattle, these veterans coming in. How has that dynamic been for you as a coach? I mean, how much are you leaning on these kinds of experienced guys around training?
Yeah, no, I mean, massively. I mean, like, having Mikey Teo come in, and he's very much Mikey Teo, like, he's the standard king. Like, we're high standards, we want to have fun in those high standards. So he does a really good job of helping all the other players around him. Ollie's the same way. you know, and the other guys that have Paul Mullen, the guys that have come in. And that's the great thing about our front row is Paul's come in, who's challenged Angus, who Angus has improved massively. And like, there's been a really good development within that front row squad. That's, you know, have just kept increasing that. And then having Aston come in, you know, as a four-lock, you know, and the other individuals that have been a part of the team, it's just been amazing. And that's the nice thing is like, we do a decent job of vetting people to fit in the environment that, you know, from last year to this year. So those newer guys coming in, like, you know, we have a unique environment, you know, and it's even dynamically it has changed quite a bit since, you know, Shawn and myself and Matt have taken over completely. So it's like, you know, our culture is very much, you know, it's going to change constantly. It's just culture. So, but like the cool thing is, it's like we have something that's really, really good right now. And those guys have just added to it. And having the old heads like Lance, Saya, Matt Jensen, who have been here since day one, you know, Angus have been here since day one and know the experiences that they've had and, you know, losing games, being, you know, 4 points away and all this stuff. And then when those guys come in, you know, we're down at halftime or we're down at like at the 20, like, you know, the last 20-minute, you know, segment or the water break. And they're like, guys, we're going to easily win this. Let's go. Let's get this, you know, and like having those guys lead the charge, like it's quite meaningful to know that we've given those guys enough confidence to just be like, hey, these guys have a crack and, you know, whatever happens and back yourselves in everything you do. So it's been good. It's been really good to have those guys.
Congratulations, man. It's just it's a great thing for the league to have you guys so good and so competitive, particularly after the first couple of 3 years in the league. And, you know, it was kind of like, oh, they play great for 60 minutes and then they fade. And you have completely turned that around. And credit to you and the organization and the guys.
Yeah, you talked about accountability and self-regulation within the playing group. Who drew the short straw of having to regulate Sayu Hiller? And if there's no one, do you want me to come in and take care of him for you?
Actually, the amazing thing is he manages himself.
He's terrifying, Shawn.
Yeah, he's terrifying, but man, the greatest team guy. Like he will buy food for the boys. He'll look after. He runs like he's a super successful businessman here in Utah. Super successful, and like, you know, he runs like a restoration business, and he gives guys jobs and things like that. He looks after the boys really, really well. And I can't think, like, for his guidance this year and him helping, you know, us with our culture and stuff like that, and his guidance has been, gosh, invaluable. It's been phenomenal for me in our coaching group.
Yeah, you know, I'm just going to say, if you want to take any other Canadians down there and make them stars like Fraser Hurst looks like he's turning into, feel free, take them all.
Wow, that's turn of events for Bryan Ray here in this NOLA 2021.
That's what we want. We just want more domestic guys. That's what we want.
And Canada counts as domestic in this league. So there you have it. A very diplomatic answer by Coach Pittman there.
That's awesome.
Shawn, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Shawn Pittman, the head coach of the Utah Warriors. Thank you very much. We'll be right back after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
Been blind since I was 4. And I've never seen a beer commercial or a beer label. None of that stuff influences me. I drink beer because of the taste. And my beer's Pabst Blue Ribbon. It has the taste and the flavor.
What do you think's on the label?
I think there's a naked woman riding on a unicorn, jumping over fire. Oh, that's good beer.
With Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News and Dan Power, the voice of Major League Rugby. Gentlemen, we've got a short week, but a very key week coming up. Not Kiwi, a key week coming up. And our first matchup is Seattle going into San Diego. Bryan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, this one isn't quite as pivotal because both teams are now out of the race. San Diego lost to Austin, so that ended their hopes of the playoff. But look, this is a chance for Seattle to kind of exact some revenge on their big rivals. Of course, they played against each other in that final in 2019. So, I kind of like how Seattle is trending in this one, and I'm not too keen on how San Diego is trending. They should have been up for those big games, and they weren't. So, I'm really tempted to actually pick Seattle heading in this one on the road. And what the heck, we'll go for it. Seawolves in a surprisingly low scoring game against San Diego.
The road dog he's taken, Dan. This is an interesting match. This is the matchup of the finalists, as he says, for the last title game in Major League Rugby history, and the reigning champions. Do they have the teeth left in that Seawolf mouth to knock off the Legion?
They've gone close, haven't they? Probably in the last 5 or 6 weeks, they've been knocking at the door, and eventually, you think they're going to upset someone. This could be the week. But wouldn't it be San Diego looking for revenge? They lost the final, not the other way around. But yeah, the cellar dwellers give them a little kick when they're down.
I meant revenge on the season, basically, because they're.
Yeah, I get it. Man. I'm with you.
They're the opposite of the Utah Warriors in that they have lost all those games in heartbreaking fashion, whereas the Warriors have won a bunch. For the other team's heartbreak, right?
Yeah.
I think San Diego is going to hold serve in this one. I think at home they're at home. They're in San Diego. They've got some very good players, and I think it's going to be just a really tight match. Another heartbreaking loss for the Seawolves. The next one up, New York at New England. And Dan, your New England has turned out to be my San Diego. I picked San Diego to come out of the West. That didn't happen. New England, a disappointing performance last week. Can they remedy that and play better against a pretty threadbare New York squad?
Yeah, hard to tell, right? So the announcement comes out as we're recording that Ryan Martin is off to the Melbourne Rebels next year. Effectively, they get knocked out of the playoff race last weekend. So 2 blows to the organisation. They did announce a move. They're going to a new home in Quincy, the Veteran Stadium there. It looks gorgeous, so that's a positive. But hard to tell. New York just have so much more to play for. Right? They can pretty much go a long way to locking down the East here and stopping that NOLA resurgence if they get a win and a bonus point win over the Free Jacks. So I had this circled as the game make or break for New England, but not anticipating that loss to NOLA Gold, obviously. So yeah, it's tough to look past New York in this one. I think New York just with more to play for.
And Brian, you're obviously a fan of New York and of NOLA, foreshadowing the final game of the season with your background. How do you look at this one objectively if you're a New York fan?
Yeah, well, I think you have to be a little bit, disappointed. Even though they beat Toronto, they didn't look super sharp and were maybe a little bit fortunate for a somewhat controversial call, which we'll talk about some other time. The other thing to think about is New York aren't going to have their international guys, and I'm not sure, if Andy Ellis is going to be back for this one or not. So kind of have
probably
to wait.
Won't be back for this one.
Yeah, so, they're going to be a little bit short, this lineup that they're going to bring out, so that's not great. But on the other hand, as Dan pointed out, New England are awfully deflated after that loss to NOLA. This is their last game at Union Point Stadium before they make that move to the new stadium. So, there's something on the line for them, something to prove. So I think this will be a close one, but I have to lean towards New York, who really have to win this if they're going to stave off NOLA, who is suddenly racking up wins in the road.
New York is likely to get Cara Pryor back and Hollinshead back at 10. That would be an enormous boost for them. But they are losing quite a few players. So this could be a really tough match for New York on the road. But I think they're gonna win it. I don't know about the 5-point bonus point win. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. But Old Glory going into Toronto, Atlanta, Ontario.
Yeah, if only. It'll be nice to hear Toronto actually playing in Toronto next year. Boy, will that be fun. This is another one, two teams that are out of it. But, Toronto's brought in some new players. They got Sam Malcolm back. He finally took the field last week against New York. So great to have him back. They're breathing a little bit of life. If they can just get that little bit of accuracy, you can see that, the lineouts weren't on when Joe Tomlinson came in. If they another week of practice, they'll straighten that out a little bit more. So I like Toronto's chances in this one. Old Glory really got beat up against ATL. It'll be the young American guys. And again, they're going to lose Fontanana, Schultz, and Dubulis, a couple other guys, so they'll be a bit more depleted for this one.
And
so
Michelangelo Sassini, right?
And Sassini fan guy as well. So and Stan South, their second row is out for the season with an injury. So I'm going to go with the Arrows in this one.
So who is going to be playing for the Arrows?
Well, we've got Tuculet. They're Sam right this time. Montero could be back for this one as well. The Uruguayos are gone, but you still got Giuseppe Dutois in the midfield. Mitch Richardson scored a try last week. Sam Malcolm again, he's in. Ronan Foley, this Ireland under-20 back row.
Did you say Bernard Foley?
Ronan Foley, possibly related, a distant cousin maybe of Bernard. So they'll have a decent side out for this one. This new Alexandre Jeanlin, Rob Brower, they got some guys.
Rob Brower, I was watching him. I was just focusing on him the whole game, just watching him. He's an amazing man. And it was cool that they all wore their club socks, but it's unfortunate that the league just decided to fine them $250,000.
Send the bill to Gilchrist.
Just kidding. That's all joke. Arrows fans, save your letters. Dan?
Listen, I was just going to make a request of both these sides. You're out of the playoffs. Do not take the points. Have fun. Quick tap. Play some fun rugby. You've got nothing to lose. This one's going to be on Fox Sports 1. Big audience. Have some fun. Just let it all hang out.
Good point.
From your own 10-meter line. Go absolutely berserk. Throw the ball around. I don't want to see one completed tackle. I just want to see 76 to 75 final score. Don't care who wins, but just have fun.
Good points. Very good points. I concur. And I think I'm going to go one more time to my brothers from the North because and it's 4th of July, right? 4th of July. What's better than a Canadian team winning in Atlanta on the 4th of July against a team that sports the flag? No, I just changed my mind. I just talked myself out of it. I got to go with Old Glory on the 4th of July. Who's getting who? Old Glory on the 4th of July. America. New Orleans going to Los Angeles. This is as difficult a situation that New Orleans has been in all year. They've lost players for the international tests. They're in a must-win situation pretty much. And they're going against the Giltinis in LA. And they really haven't been zinged by the international test poll, Brian.
Yeah, to be fair, LA has had quite a few injuries. They, been pretty shorthanded the last couple of weeks. But yeah, NOLA's losing half their team, really, and the consequential players as well. Both starting props are gone. Cam Dolan is gone. Andrew Guerra, their breakout flanker is gone. They don't have Lockie Kratz, the Canadian center as well.
Kyle Bailey there?
Kyle Bailey's injured. I think he's traveling with Canada anyway, so he's not going to play. Eric Howard. There's just too many bodies, and they're just the situation is just too difficult for them to be traveling over to LA against that team, even a depleted LA.
You're picking NOLA.
I'd like to pick NOLA, but I can't. I got to go with LA in this one.
Yeah. Dan, will the loss of Darren Coleman or the announcement that he is going back to Australia be enough to weigh in? No. Mm-mm.
No, I think it'll almost have the opposite effect, right? Where with New England, they're out of the playoffs. With now, let's win it for DC. Let's send him out a winner. So totally different situation. But for me, this was always going to come down to the set piece, and the line out of LA is so good, and Cam Dolan is so good at spoiling good lineouts, and he's gone. So I'm not sure who NOLA are going to throw up in the air to compete with, Ash, Dennis, Den Hoot, all those guys who are
Nate Osborne.
Nate Osborne is going to have to go into the basement and pull out something special here. This will be a coaching masterstroke if they can get the win on the road.
I meant they would throw him up in the lineout.
They may have to.
Yeah,
they may
with his cap.
Yeah, I did like his cap. I like him and the Peaky Blinder brothers, him and Ryan Martin, looking very sharp. So, yeah, hard to go against LA in this one, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm going with LA too. As Dan pointed out off camera, they could mathematically be eliminated from the playoffs, but that we all know that is not going to happen. And I think they're just going to have some fun at the expense of NOLA at home and win big. But, that's not saying a lot, is it? And it's not taking away from NOLA, whose roster was depleted before the season happened, and now the international tests have just really rendered them pretty thin. But LA is going to be exciting to watch. Before we let you go, guys, who's going to be in the final, and who can beat LA?
Geez, well, I think, Utah, if they make it to that Western Conference final, I think they could maybe beat LA. And I like ATL's chances against LA too, frankly, as well. So, I think most people would probably bet on an LA ATL final at this point. And you know what? As an Eastern Conference guy, I'm leaning towards ATL.
Dan, ATL lost twice to New York.
Yeah.
And New York beat LA.
If it comes into the semifinal, New York won down in Atlanta too. So if Atlanta holds that number 1 seed, New York are comfortable going down there and winning that game. Yeah, but Brian's probably right. Like, the safe money is on ATL, LA in the final. But we've seen it so many times. Once you get into those final situation, bounce the ball, something weird happens. If you're New Zealand in 1995, random food poisoning runs through your camp in the host country, who end up going on and winning it. Who
get
left
stuck in the Holland Tunnel in New Jersey.
Yeah. Hey, yo,
how
you doing? Nice bus. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
You ran out of gas.
Yeah. But, LA, ATL is the safe money right now. But who knows? We'll see what happens next 3 weeks.
All right. I'm very excited about this. I never thought that they would get all the games in. They've gotten all the games in. They've flourished. They've been exciting. They've got pennant races, as you would refer to it in baseball. And you got a lot of teams mathematically still alive despite everything. It's just remarkable, and it's been great. And you guys have been great. So thank you. And on that note, I want to thank Mr. Dan Power and Mr. Bryan Ray. Gentlemen, thank you. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you next week as well, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, check out our other segments, including the Rugby Odds, featuring WWE Hall of Famer John Bradshaw Layfield, the world's best sports bettor ever in the Philly Godfather, and Rugby's Gift, Gift A. Bailu, our Major League Rugby show, martial law, the Zack Attack, and please sign up for our Rugby Wrap-Up Red Cross Blood Donor Team.